everyone. This is the Asian American Herald, a new media network that airs via live stream on Facebook twice a week. I'm Himanee Gupta-Carlson, host of the Thursday evening show, and welcome. So I open our show tonight with a weekly tribute to the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, who are the original caretakers of much of upstate New York, where the Asian American Herald is based. In making this tribute, I acknowledge myself as a settler, and I thank the Haudenosaunee for providing me with shelter. So India's recent rise in COVID-19 cases, as well as the tragic deaths, has really rocked the nation's global diaspora, particularly perhaps the United States, where it is estimated that more than 5 million persons of Indian ancestry currently reside. And so many of us in the United States who are of Indian ancestry have family and friends in India who have been infected. And we really long to see them, but even as residents of the United States who have been receiving vaccinations against the virus, we cannot. And this is due in part to recent restrictions on travel that the Biden administration has imposed, as well as calls being made by the U.S. government, as well as many corporations for U.S. nationals to leave the country, to leave India as soon as possible. And so all of these policies are really complex, but they affect our daily lives considerably. And here to help us understand them better is tonight's guest, Randhir Jaiswal, who is Consul General for India based in New York. So Consul General Jaiswal, welcome to our show.
Very warm, delighted to be here. Thank you for your warm welcome. And I look forward to engaging with your channel, your platform, and also with your viewers. So it's a pleasure for me. And I thank you for your very kind invitation.
And it's really an honor to have you. And for viewers, I will remind you, it is possible to actually post comments, and I do try to monitor the chat. So if you do have questions that come up as we're speaking, please feel free to post them, and I will do my best to bring them into the conversation. So just for starters, many of our viewers and listeners are recent immigrants, while others have lived in the United States for all or most of their lives and really have not had much opportunity to travel, particularly to India. So I was actually wondering if you could start by telling us a little about the Office of the Consulate General and its role vis-a-vis the United States and India.
Well, thank you. We have in the United States 5 consulate generals. Now, we have consulates in New York, in Houston, in Chicago, in San Francisco, and in Atlanta. And obviously, we have our embassy in Washington, where our ambassador is resident. The consulate looks after this particular consulate. Our consulate here in New York looks after 10 states along the eastern Atlantic seaboard. So the New England region plus Pennsylvania, New York, Ohio, and New Jersey. So 6 of the New England region and these 4 states. So overall, our jurisdiction extends to these 10 states on the eastern seaboard of the United States.
Okay. And then as Consul General, what are your primary responsibilities?
So myself as the Consul General, and I head this office of the Consulate General of India here in New York. Our primary responsibility is, of course, very simple. We are here to build bridges, to make friends, to do our best in terms of promoting India-US relations. And in that ambit, we have to reach out to a community. We have to service them in terms of passports, visas, all sorts of documentation requirements. We also have to establish strong economic connects with companies here, trading partners here, investment partners here, technology partners here. We also have the mandate to look after our educational cooperation. Large number of Indian students come to United States. We have ongoing and flourishing collaboration between universities here and universities in India. So that is another important aspect of our work. Science and technology promotion, yet again, is an important. And overall, maintaining strong political understanding between actors here in this region of the United States in their overall support for India-US relations. So in all these activities, we work under the embassy in Washington, and our work feeds into all that they are doing to promote
Okay.
India-US friendship.
Okay. So that is a pretty wide net of responsibilities. And I'm wondering if you could just maybe give us one or two examples of what that looks like.
Well, on a daily basis, for example, we reach out to a particular company. We reached out to one particular company a few days back. They are a biotech company. They have developed technology to detect white spots on shrimps, on prawns. Now, white spot is a problem in India and elsewhere in the world. Now, we reached out to this particular company because we want to source this technology. We have large marine products exports from India to the United States. We are the largest exporters of shrimp to the United States. So,
Wow. I didn't know
just to give you the kind of things that we do on a daily basis, we reach out to our principal to companies, to economic actors, to trade partners, to chambers here. We want to connect startups here with startups in India. We have to look at the kind of innovation that is happening. Yesterday, we had a event on textiles.
that. Mm,
Now, on textiles, there are a lot of research that is happening here in the United States, and we want to see how best we can collaborate with that research and research in India. And there are new things that are happening in the field of textiles, be it design, be it innovation, be it sustainability. So all that, it's a huge world that we are all engaged in.
yeah. So it's very interesting. Because I think, just before the show started, we were talking briefly about I had to go to the Consulate General office in New York a few years ago because I needed fairly quickly to get a visa to travel to India, just because sort of last minute trip materialized. So for the ordinary everyday person, what is travel the main contact that they have with the consulate?
Well, we have our consular section here is always very busy. We are catering to some 2 million plus diaspora in this part of the United States. In addition, we also cater to all the American travelers who want to go to India, journalists, business travelers, technologists, education specialists, political partners, and other stakeholders. Um, so, visas, passports, documentation, immigration issues, marriages, deaths, all those things, births. So, all those things is a large consular portfolio that we have. Possibly, we are the largest consulate in the world in that sense, because given the size of our population here.
Yeah, and it's been growing. I mean, it just over the decades. I'm born and raised in the United States Indian. My parents had immigrated, early in the 1960s, 1961 actually, and I've seen the population over the decades of my existence just really, really increase. Um, so, kind of along those lines, can you describe what the actual travel restrictions are between the United States and India right now?
Okay. So first I will deal with the restrictions on our side.
Okay.
So for the time being, we have suspended tourist visas. So we want to discourage people to go to India for tourism purposes. Obviously, everybody understands why that restriction is in place. But other than that, business travelers, students, sports people, journalists, people who are employed in India, they can travel to India. They can apply for a visa and we give them the visa. Apart from that, people who want to travel to India for emergency purposes, family matters, to attend to someone in hospital, etc. For that, we have emergency visa, and we have been issuing emergency visa. If there is any problem, a dire emergency, people come here directly to the consulate, and we are able to give them visa over the counter. The other element is the OCI holders, people who hold OCI cards, overseas citizenship of India. They are good to go to India wherever they want.
Okay.
So all the travelers who go to India have to have a negative RT-PCR test, and they can travel.
Okay.
Now, restrictions have been imposed by the US government because of the second surge in India. Those restrictions apply to Indian nationals. They don't apply to US nationals. So, US nationals, for example, if they are in India, they can come here. And from here, a US national, obviously, we don't have any restrictions on them. So, they can go to India if they wish to for
Even
certain
even for
purposes.
tourism. Even for tourism
No, not for tourism, for other purposes.
or other purposes. Okay.
Other purposes. But the restrictions, there are certain exemptions in the restrictions that have been applied. So, for example, a green card holder, if he is an Indian passport holder, he or she can travel to United States. In addition, there are several other categories where which have been detailed. So, in a sense, there are some exceptions also which have been provided. There are some national interest exemptions as well. So, if anybody wants to apply for those exemptions, Indian nationals, they can visit the Indian consulate, sorry, the US consulate or the embassy, look at the FAQs on the website. We have recently had a lot of queries regarding students. So, students for the fall, for example, they have been exempted. But there are people who have internship positions here in the United States. What happens with them? So these are some of the questions which we have asked here for authorities to clarify. But for others, for your viewers, if they have any doubt, please visit the US Embassy website in Delhi or
Okay.
consulates in Chennai, Calcutta, or Mumbai, and look for those FAQs. There you will get all the answers.
Okay. What about your office? Do you only have information on the US side, I think?
Sorry, what did you say?
And your office primarily handles the travel on the US side. So people who are wishing to, in the US, who are wishing to go to India.
Yeah, we still have, uh, a month back, we had almost 150 people applying for visas on a daily basis.
Okay.
Now that, because of the pandemic, has come down to 10, 15, 20.
Okay.
And most of the people who are traveling are the ones who have to take care of their parents
Okay.
back home, elderly people, either in hospital or they have to go and see them, or whatever be the case. In addition, people who are traveling are the ones who hold OCI cards.
Yeah.
So they are American nationals with an OCI card. You are free to go whenever, or you are free to go to India whenever you want.
Okay. I was actually curious because, this is, when you're going to tend to an elder relative who's ailing, or maybe perhaps has COVID and might not be, might not survive. It's obviously a very stressful and a very emotionally difficult time. And I'm wondering what kind of advanced planning or, steps should people take to ensure that they will actually be able to travel to India quickly and safely if they need to?
So one, of course, there are two things, two requirements, three in fact. One is that if you think that some eventuality is going to happen and you want to visit India for emotional reasons or for family reasons, etc., you should you should have a visa, stroke, or an OCI card. So if you don't have a visa, you can possibly come and apply for one and be ready. Two, you have to have a negative RT-PCR test taken 72 hours in advance, so you have 2 3 days to plan. And third thing, of course, is your air ticket. Because of the restrictions, we still have Air India flying to India. They have reduced the number of flights, but they are flying to both destination, Mumbai and Delhi. And in addition, I understand United Airlines continues to fly to India.
Okay. Okay. Those are actually very good details to know. And the negative test that you're referring to, it's a negative COVID test?
Negative RT-PCR test, yes.
Okay. Okay. And that is that the COVID test?
Yes, it's a COVID test, RT-PCR.
Okay. Okay, good. Thank you. And then on the other side, let's say that a U.S. visa holder, a permanent resident, or a citizen has been in India tending to family and is now trying to return to the United States. What kind of steps should they take and what kind of barriers might they face?
I mean, for US nationals in India, green card holders, uh, and there are certain other categories. If they want to come to the United States, they are welcome. The US government does not put any restrictions on them, but they also have to have a negative RT-PCR test taken within 72 hours of their journey. That's
Okay.
the only restriction.
Okay.
And
Have,
obviously, after that, all the other regulations of CDC would kick in, of
okay.
isolation, etc.
Okay. Have Indian nationals or others had difficulty leaving India to return to the United States?
Indian nationals, if they are on a B1, B2 visa, for example, they cannot come because restrictions apply, and it is understandable why the restrictions have been put in place. We have
Okay.
to have a larger view of the pandemic. It is
Yeah.
in everybody's interest that we have lesser movement, so we understand the restrictions that have been imposed.
So largely, these individuals should, if they should stay put in the United States, they should not really consider traveling to India at this time, and because it's a possibility that they might not be able to return.
Oh yes, Indian nationals who are here, if they go back to India, then they
Yeah,
cannot come back
yeah, they cannot.
unless they are part of where they can apply for national interest exemptions. There are certain exemptions also which have been provided. That's why I said people, travelers, etc. Please look for the FAQs on the U.S. Embassy website, and you will get a lot of your answers.
Okay,
Mhm.
great. So that all of that's really helpful. So I really thank you for kind of walking us through a process that is maybe a day-to-day thing for you, but is not so familiar for a lot of us. Just kind of shifting course a little bit. I know many diaspora Indians are actually looking for ways to support COVID-19 relief efforts in India. I know that I've had some contact with various organizations that I'm involved with. And so I'm wondering, how is the Consulate General Office able to help in this respect?
See, in the last few weeks, a lot of people, individuals, community groups, organizations have contacted us that they want to support India's relief efforts, support fighting COVID-19 in India. We have conveyed to them what we need, what are the priority, what are the things that they can possibly send to India. We need oxygen concentrators, we need oxygen plants, oxygen cylinders, and we need remdesivir, which is an antiviral drug
Right.
used for treatment of COVID-19. And
Yes.
in addition, we need ventilators and BiPAP machines. We also need tocilizumab, which is again an antiviral drug. So these are five, six, seven elements which we need, items which we need for treatment of COVID. We have received tremendous amount of support from the United States government, from the people of this country, and also from the Indian American community in a big way. They've come out and supported relief efforts in a large with a large heart, I would say.
That's really awesome. It reminds me of kind of where New York was a year ago, where we were actually in the residents of New York were really in dire need of hospital beds and ventilators, particularly, and masks. There was just very little PPE available, and so it's distressing on one hand to see that the situation is what it is in India right now, but it's also gratifying to see that so many people who were helped this time last year are now returning the help. Um, for let's say people wanted to make a cash donation so that organizations could procure these items like the antiviral medications, the oxygen, and all of that. Can they can they contact the consulate, or is it best that they go through organizations that they might be aware of?
See, in terms of if you want to make financial contribution, we will. If you write to us, we'll tell you that you should make that contribution directly into the Prime Minister's fund, PM Cares Fund. We accept debit card, credit card, and wire transfers. In addition, if people want to separately want to, join relief efforts, they can contact community organizations here, and they'll be happy to send relief on their behalf. To community organizations and to others, we are saying that if you are donating to Government of India, it should be consigned to the Indian Red Cross,
Okay.
which will take charge of the consignment, and thereafter it will be distributed as per Government of India's list of priority, reaching out to all hospitals across the length and breadth of the country.
Okay.
But in
That makes
addition, we also have a lot of NGOs and civil society here who are sending stuff to their counterparts in India as well.
okay. Are you maintaining a list of NGOs and other organizations on your website? Or is the embassy, Indian embassy, maintaining a list?
No, we don't maintain a list, but you have a large number of organizations here who are who are coordinating relief efforts. So it's if you send us, then we can send you some. If people want to contribute, we can tell them that you can guide them that you can contact X, Y, Z, and that should be sufficient.
Okay.
So we have professional groups, we have doctors, we have Seva International, we have U.S. India Strategic Partnership Forum, you have American Indian Foundation. We have large number of community organizations here. Vibha is another NGO which is doing. So large number of people are doing relief effort.
Okay. Okay. That's really good to know. And it sort of it brings a lot of the it sort of streamlines a lot of what we're hearing or getting kind of passed on to us through social media and news media outlets. Um, I'd like to shift again to just kind of looking a little bit more at India US relations. As we know, of course, the United States had a presidential election in 2020, and a new president came into office, President Joe Biden. And the outgoing president, Donald Trump, had maintained some fairly cordial relationships with the Prime Minister, Narendra Modi. And so I'm wondering, how might this new change in administration impact India's relationships with the United States and vice versa?
For India, United States relationship is one of our foremost international partnerships. Now, this is a very special partnership, very special relationship. And the beauty of this partnership is that it has bipartisan support. So whether you have Democrats here in power or the Republicans here in power, there is only one trajectory, one direction that the relationship goes into, and that is the northward trajectory. So we have had we have a new administration in Washington. We have outlined the priority areas. We want to work with the United States government in health, in the area of digital innovation, in education knowledge partnership, in defense and security matters, also in the Indo-Pacific, on the economic side, on renewable energy and climate. So these are some of the areas where we want to work. And obviously, all this comes under the envelope of our strategic partnership. Uh, Already with this new administration, we've had contacts at the highest level. We've had 3 phone call conversations between Prime Minister Modi and President Biden. We've also had the Quad Summit that happened at the leaders level. First Quad Summit that happened at the leaders level, a summit actually. And in addition to that, the Prime Minister also participated in the Leaders Summit on Climate Change that was hosted by President Biden on Earth Day.
Yeah.
So all in all, a lot of to and fro, a lot of conversation, um, lot of ongoing engagement between India and the United States at the highest level. We've had our external affairs minister speak to Secretary Blinken several times. We've also had our national security advisor speaking to his counterpart here. So it looks good. We have a very rich agenda, and we really and deeply we are thankful to President Biden and to the government of the United States. He said that he stands shoulder to shoulder, that the United States will stand shoulder to shoulder with India in fight against COVID-19. We've
Yeah,
received 5 or 6 aircraft of uh, COVID relief in India. It includes oxygen cylinders, remdesivir, uh, other other relief material, other COVID COVID related material to fight the disease in India. So we are very grateful for all the support that we received from the United States government, and
yeah,
for solidarity, and for standing up along with us in this hour of crisis.
that's good to hear. So it seems that the relationship is, and the agenda is, it's not something that you throw out and start over fresh with a new administration. It's really more of kind of ensuring continuity.
It is, of course, because this is every aspect of human endeavor happens to be part of this partnership. You have science, you have technology, you have digital age, you have innovation, you have startups, and you have, of course, the people to people relation is so strong. We have over 4.5 million, 4.2, upwards of 4.2, 4.3 million people of Indian ancestry and Indian origin here in the United States. They are a living bridge between here and the United States,
Yeah.
here in India, sorry. So all this makes for a very strong partnership, and we are proud of this relationship, and we are committed to it, and we want to take it forward.
Okay. So we've got just a few minutes left, and I'd actually like to close. It's interesting, I usually open the show this way, but given, the topic of COVID that we wanted to discuss, I chose to kind of end by asking you to tell us a little more about yourself. Your profile on the Consulate General website really describes you as a career diplomat, and you've had postings in Portugal, Cuba, and South Africa, and many posts in the Indian Ministry of External Affairs. About that and how your career experience has impacted your view of the world, and maybe what we can do from your perspective as humans to ease, the global tensions that currently exist, and maybe make the world feel more safe and more peaceful.
I have been very fortunate. This assignment has given me an opportunity to travel the world. I lived with people in Africa, in Asia, in Latin America, in the Americas, in Europe, every part of the world. And the beauty is that any society you go to, you realize that they are like you and you are like them. Be it a rich society or a poor society, a rural society or an urban society, every society has its own unique human experience attribute, and that's the beauty of it. You To all these countries that I have traveled and lived to, I went there as a stranger, and I left those places as a friend.
Yeah.
And in the process, you imbibe so much of what belongs to them and what actually belongs to the humanity. So after a period of time, you start introspecting about many aspects of life, and then you realize that you belong to the universal whole. So that is what I am today. I'm more a person who believes in universality of ideas, universality of human beings, of principles, and that takes me to all the great leaders that we've had, from Mahatma Gandhi uh, to many others, Nelson Mandela. You realize how important these people are, and how important their voices, their legacy is. If you want to build a better place for for ourselves and for our future generations, especially in today's times where you experiencing climate change, where you're experiencing all sorts of insecurities. It's important that we listen to them, listen to our forefathers, listen to their judgment, their wisdom. We need more wisdom today than we needed some time back. You have a lot of intelligence today. You have machines doing all sorts of work for you, making life very easy. But we need wisdom. We have to be wise. We have to recall the sages of yesteryears and see how best we can take our life on this planet forward. We really need the advice We really need people who talk about peace and look and take them very seriously.
Yeah. And on that note, I just have to say I always open this show with a tribute to the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, which is the also known as the Iroquois Confederacy, and it's the five Native American nations of New York, much of New York, and stretching upwards into Canada and through other parts of the Northeast. And one of the most important aspects of the Confederacy was that they had this belief that you work until all minds are one. And that is, kind of the mission and the goal. And it seems very much to resonate with what you are telling us tonight. So, on that note, I want to thank everyone for joining us this evening for our weekly Asian American Herald show. I'm Himanee Gupta-Carlson, and I've been speaking with Consul General Randhir Jaiswal. The Asian American Herald is a Facebook-based news media outlet dedicated to discussing topics and building community among Asian Americans in New York and beyond. So please look for the recording of this show on our Facebook page. And have a good evening. We'll see you again next Thursday. Thank you, everyone. And thank you, Consul General.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.